Hey everybody, what's going on? So in this section, what we're gonna do is we are going to debunk the most common sales misconceptions. Now, to start things off, a lot of people have this negative connotation of sales. They think of snake oil salesmen or used car salesmen, and a lot of times this may make people feel like they want to stay away from sales. And people will say, oh, I'm just gonna create a great product and people are gonna come. But that's not really true, because without sales, which is that transaction of selling your product or service in exchange for monetary value, well, without that, your business cannot survive. Even though you have the best product or service in the entire world, if nobody even knows about it, no one's going to buy it. If nobody buys it, then your business is not going to be successful. So clearly you guys can understand why sales is going to be critical for any business. Now, when most people think of the typical salesperson, they think of this alpha guy, slick talking, in a suit, very professional feeling and looking. And if you look at me, some people might say that I might be able to fit in this stereotype as well. And because of the image that movies and media has created around salespeople, there have been a lot of misconceptions of what sales actually is. And some of the top misconceptions include you have to be born a salesperson, only people who have silver tongues or smooth talkers are good at sales, or you must be an extrovert and outgoing to succeed in sales. And another thing that people think is that salespeople are all liars. And in reality, all these things are far from the truth. And so in this section, we're gonna go one by one, debunking each and every one of these things to show you guys why you can learn to be great at sales, even though you may not have that confidence. Okay, so to start things off, I'm gonna use myself as an example. So during my teenage years, I was very shy, I was very awkward, and I was insecure. You know, nobody wanted to go to a school dance with me. People made fun of me, and that was literally the type of person I was. And there was such a lack in confidence that I literally believed that other people who were better than me and smarter than me, better looking than me, deserved a better life. And I thought that my life was set to be at this mediocre level, and that was it. But because of this frustration and because I put myself in this box, I really needed to do something in order to change my life, because I was literally in this depressed state. And so I remember one night I asked myself, what am I going to do about it? Because I cannot live as this shy, awkward person that people make fun of anymore. And so what I did was I turned to this idea of a Renaissance man. I don't know why it popped up or how it popped up, but this is what I thought of during that night as I was crying in my room alone, thinking about what I should do. And the three major things that I thought made up the Renaissance man was mind, body, and soul. Mind was the academic part and being good in school at the time. Body was being physically healthy and fit. And soul was being able to connect with other people on an emotional level, which I was far from. And so what I did was I consciously worked on these three different elements, and every day I would go out there and practice a little bit more and a little bit more and try to become better at communicating with people. And I also had this process where when I would go out and try something, regardless of what would happen, I would go back, write in my journal and figure out, okay, what did I do well? What didn't I do well? And how can I improve for the next time? And I repeated this process over and over and over years. And so eventually that's how you get from this guy who was shy, awkward, and quiet to this person who you see today. And what's really ironic that I went from this person who was extremely shy and who was so afraid to talk to the complete opposite, which is a sales coach teaching other people how they can break their shell. So I promise you that no matter how much you believe that you are not good at sales, or you're not extroverted, or you're not this, or you're not that, sales is a skill set and a mindset that can be learned. Even if you're starting at the bottom where I started, I know for sure if you put in the work, you can become a better version of yourself. So you don't have to be a salesperson. Sales is something that you can 100% learn. And of course, there are going to be people who are more talented than others, but even if you're not talented, this is something that anybody can learn, because it's really just being able to communicate with another person. And you know what's interesting about being a salesperson is that the best salespeople aren't actually going to be the best talkers. The best salespeople are going to be the best listeners and the ones that can have the most empathy for another person. It's not about smooth talking and being so suave. It's about listening to what other people are saying and helping them solve their problems. And I saw this everywhere I go, whether it was at Oracle or in the startup world. The best salespeople aren't usually who you think are going to be the best salespeople. I've seen some of the best salespeople be really reserved and only speak when necessary, and instead they spend all their time listening. And so by developing that skill set, they're able to see another person's problem, and from there they can solve their problem with a product or service as a solution. You might think of me as someone who is a smooth talker talker who talks really fast and blah, blah, blah. And I get it, right? Like, I do fit a certain stereotype in sales. However, I'm telling you, that's who I've naturally become over the years, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow the same path. There are many different paths to becoming a great salesperson. And I'm telling you, the best way to do it is to become empathetic and listen. And the last misconception we're going to go over is that salespeople are all liars. And that's just completely not true. And the thing is, a lot of people have this conception where a salesperson is just trying to shove a product down your throat and just trick you into buying something. And I know that it's salespeople that take advantage of people that really is just one bad apple in the whole batch. In reality, the B2B sales, business to business, works completely different, because if you try to rip someone off, you're going to be known as someone with a bad reputation and nobody's going to want to buy anything from you in the long run. So that's why in real professional B2B sales, especially if you're trying to sell into Fortune 500 companies or if you're a startup who's trying to scale, it's all about having that good reputation in understanding what another person's problems are and guiding them to their light and showing how your product or service can actually help them make their lives so much better. And that is essentially what selling is. It's not tricking someone into buy, it's helping them make a buying decision, because nobody likes to be sold, but people love to buy. And so to conclude everything that we talked about in this section, I'm telling you that if you want to be good at sales, but you feel like you're not confident enough or you're not a smooth talker, just don't even worry about that. Learning how to become a better seller is a skill set that can absolutely be learned no matter what position you're in. So with that said, I hope you now have the confidence to move forward and really believe that you can become a better communicator and a better seller so that you can finally grow your business and take it to the next level. So with that said, that's everything we have to cover so far when it comes to debunking sales misconceptions, and I'm going to see you in the next lesson.